Hi, this is Steve Rode, your Get Out of Debt guy from getoutofdebt.org. In today's shortcast, let's talk about inflation, what it is, what it means, and why pursuing lower inflation can cause people to lose jobs. At a gut level, you'll hear the word inflation and many assign blame or political dispersions, but is that reasonable and fair? So what is inflation? Inflation occurs when there are broad, rapidly increasing prices in a category of goods and services, not just rising prices on individual items. The measurement of inflation is not as straightforward as you might imagine. All sorts of indexes and analyses are used to calculate an inflation number, and you might have heard about two of these measurements, the Consumer Price Index and the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index. But alone, indexes measuring prices do not calculate the rate of inflation. Instead, inflation is the increase or decrease of one or more price indexes over a given period. So what actually causes inflation? Well, a few significant categories can lead to higher prices of goods and services. Prices can increase if there's a shortage of goods or services. Inflation can occur if the cost of producing goods and delivering services increases. And if workers demand higher wages during periods of low unemployment, well, that can cause inflation as businesses have to increase prices to cover costs. This typically happens in a growing economy. Most underlying inflation factors are not caused by the political party in office. For example, there are more causes of inflation like broken supply chains, a war in other parts of the globe, emotional uneasiness with the economy, and more. And take transportation-related inflation, for example. Higher gas prices and vehicle manufacturing supply chain issues lead to higher transportation costs. But those car manufacturers' supply chain issues began at the start of the pandemic as demand declined and orders for computer chips were cut back. Hey, we've been playing catch-up ever since. But since this is a shortcast, let's keep this topic of inflation simple. You've heard about the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates to control inflation. But why do they do that? Well, think about it like this. Consumers will begin to borrow and spend less when borrowing money or carrying balances on credit cards with increasing interest rates becomes more expensive. Conversely, when consumption declines, prices fall, and the inflation rate slows. If interest rates are modified too much, the economy's desired slowdown can overshoot the target. A rapidly slowing economy with high interest rates can lead to too much of a slowdown, and that's what we call a recession. The art of managing inflation is to apply the right amount of increase in interest rates to ease the slower growth and demand while not causing too much damage. If you think inflation is horrible, let's not forget that worker damage is the byproduct of slowing inflation. When growth slows to reduce the costs of goods and services you pay for and complain about, a knock-on effect is a reduction in employment. If fewer people are buying or paying more, payroll gets reduced since the cost of staff is one of the most uncomplicated costs to cut back on. It's hard to shrink a factory, but people are disposable without job protections. See ya! The whispers are white-collar jobs will be the most at risk as employment is reduced to counter slow growth. Careers in real estate, banking, tech, and business services are far above what they were before the pandemic. Entry-level white-collar workers are probably the first on the chopping block. William Lee, the chief economist at the Milken Institute, said, "The entry-level white-collar guy is going to have to watch out. That's going to be the surprise in this downturn," he said, adding that some lower-skilled white-collar jobs were vulnerable to replacement by apps and automation. Unlike in other economically challenging times, blue-collar workers have less to fear when it comes to job loss. As Lee said, the Joe Sixpack, who used to be the first guy to be laid off, can be less concerned if he's one of those jobs that are in high demand, like Amazon warehouse workers, the delivery guy, the guys working in the ghost kitchens. Well, there's no current consensus on whether the United States will be in a recession. The best experts can do is guess, And currently, economists are split 50-50 if a downturn is coming. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if we're technically in a recession or if inflation is being managed. What matters most is what you're feeling about these issues. Emotions win out over facts every single day of the week. Hey, thank you for listening to my shortcast on inflation. Be sure to subscribe to my Get Out of Debt Guy podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. So for now, this is Steve Rode, your Get Out of Debt Guy, wishing you success, peace, and happiness. Till next time. Bye-bye.